Good evening and welcome to our first sports OT online wrap of 2020. We didn't know if this was going to happen.
No. After weeks of waiting, right? And, games are on. Games are scheduled differently. Games are canceled today, a couple. So, yeah, it's been a wild ride. But thankfully, we are here.
We are here.
And we get to talk about football for at least one Friday.
We can do our job as sports reporters. We can talk about some football games. All right, so there were actually a lot of games, too. Not only did we have games, but there were a decent amount of games.
Yeah, majority
of
the Chippewa Valley outside of the Dairyland Conference, and then obviously Eau Claire North and Memorial. So it was a good night.
All right, so let's start our first 2020 Spotlight Game of the Week, Regis at Elk Mound. Now, I was at this one. We can start the highlights. Elk Mound, Regis is a powerhouse. I think we know this. Elk Mound was pretty confident going in, and score didn't go in their favor. It was close to start out, but you know what? I was surprised. There were actually a decent amount of people there, Nick.
Yeah, and some of the other games too that we covered tonight. There were a lot of people in the stands. Every conference has different policies. The conferences have the schools and conferences have dictated how many tickets each parent gets per player. So, but tip of the hat to Elk Mound tonight, right? I mean, it was 6-0 at halftime, and they knew they were going to have to play Regis at some point, but they weren't expecting to play them the first game of the season.
No,
so,
what a test, right?
Right, and obviously Regis, a great job to pull away and win this game by a pretty comfortable margin. But tip of the cap to Elk Mound to make this a fight into the second half.
Yeah, I was impressed with, the crowd was in it. Regis fans, they travel well, so there was a bunch of Regis fans there, and the crowd was really in it, even when, Elk Mound did end up going down, by the score that we saw. The fans were still in it. Everyone was happy to be there.
Yeah, that's kind of the sense we're getting from tonight. I saw a couple social media posts from coaches on the bus just saying, I'm so thankful to be on a bus going to a game right now, and you can tell some of the athletes are taking this differently too, a greater appreciation. We just talked about how we have an appreciation for this, so it's really cool.
Very, very
Side note,
night.
how windy was it in Elk Mound today?
So windy. I apologize for the hair in my face for all of the live shots I had to do. It was so windy. It was so windy. But they kept the game on the ground. That's what they said that they were going to do going into it.
So they thought it would go fast.
They thought it would go fast, and it did. All right, so let's go to some BRC action. Menominee at Hudson. Menominee, always a powerhouse. Labuda's the coach there. They always do good. What did you see from this game, Nick?
I saw a back-and-forth game early. This is about as wide of a hole as you can get to score a touchdown. So, Hudson went ahead early, and then Menominee came right back, and this is a great catch here down the sideline. By Mr. Brock Thornton hauls that pass in. And then this was an awesome kick return. But then Hudson scores late, and it was just back and forth all night long. And Hudson ends up winning 30-23. So, really good test for Menominee. Maybe Hudson's a little bit better than people are going to give him credit for. But I thought this was a really good opening night game. A close game. That's all you can ask for here on week one.
Let's do some more BRC action. How about Chippewa Falls at River Falls? Battle of the Falls here. Now, Chippewa Falls, they were kind of in rebuilding mode last year. In the last few years, they said they're kind of been rebuilding. So tough first night taking on the Wildcats. What did you see in this game?
Well, Chippewa Falls' strength is their offensive line. They've got some really big guys up front, and I know that they kind of found some things late in the season. So, but you have to remember, Chippewa Falls didn't scrimmage anybody. And we just found out a couple weeks ago that we were going to play.
Right.
So I know that people have been putting in the time in the gym and getting ready, but we can't read too much, I think, into these week one scores or performances just because, maybe teams had more or less time to practice, or you had that scrimmage and you got a taste of it. So nothing taken away from River Falls. They played really well tonight. But I think if you're Chippewa Falls, you can't be too deflated because it's only one game. You're on the road. You maybe didn't get that scrimmage. You didn't get that chance to maybe go against another team hit live. So
right, give yourself some time to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Give yourself some time. All right, so the closest game of this evening, Rice Lake, New Richmond.
Yeah, this was a wild one, especially in the second half. So it was kind of back and forth, just like our Hudson highlights there. And First of
Here
all,
to the right of
a lot of
Summers.
schools, you saw like the
Summers
parents
takes the
walking
handoff.
with their kid. A lot of teams are doing that early. But so New Richmond goes in, we thought it was going to be a pass, but it ends up being a run. And then Rice Lake works their way down, and they get a touchdown here with like a minute left in the game, just about a minute to go. And then they're going for two. They're rolling the dice, week one, on the road, the pitch and the run, and he comes up just 1 yard short. So, love the call there to go for two and try to get one on the road week one, but give a lot of credit to New Richmond's defense for standing tall there with the game on the line. So good win for New Richmond. Great game. It was back and forth, and as you can see there at justinlivestream.com, I was able to bring it to you for the New Richmond fans and the Rice Lake fans. And how cool is that? I know it's a really big bummer that parents cannot go to road games in the Big Rivers, but how lucky are we, I guess, to have all this live stream or TV services provided by all the schools to be able to watch a game from Rice Lake all the way over in New Richmond. So at least we have that. I know a lot of parents are probably upset, but at least we can watch the games.
Most of these teams, I think, are going to have that. I know Elk Mound's coach said that pretty much every game is going to be on YouTube. So yeah, you can still watch the games even if.
Yeah, and a silver lining, or maybe something great that comes out of this, is some of the students are running these broadcasts. They're the ones running the camera and maybe doing play-by-play or something like that. So it's a great opportunity for high school students to get their feet wet in kind of our business.
Going to take our jobs if we're not careful. Get experience
trying to stay positive, I guess, with all this. So.
All right, so Mondovi, Osseo Fairchild, you were at this one.
Yes.
Mondovi, what a year last year.
Yeah.
Sure, you heard about
the defense
you
was
heard
great,
about this, right?
And this was looking like it was going to be a Mondovi blowout right away because they went right down the field and they scored. That's Tanner Marsh bulldozing in. Boy, he was tough to stop tonight. So they get up 8-0, and then after a turnover, Osseo Fairchild turned the ball over twice in the first quarter. So there's a big-time touchdown. Nothing easier than that. It's 15-0, and you're thinking, oh boy, Mondovi's going to run away with this. But then the defense makes a huge play here. It's a tip ball interception. And then Osseo Fairchild had the ball for, I think, like 10 minutes in the second quarter. Just methodically moved their way down the field. It was a great drive. Took a lot of time, ends with a touchdown. So it's 15-6. But then Mondovi had a really big second half, and they end up pulling away 48-20. So I think Osseo Fairchild's going to be good this year. I think Mondovi is going to be really good this year. Those guys, were that close to Madison last year, and I think they want to put in the work to, I don't know how far we can go. We've only got 2 levels of playoffs this year, and we don't know what the playoffs look like, but Mondovi has something to play for and something to prove, especially the senior class, this new senior class. So good win for Mondovi. And we'll keep an eye on Osseo Fairchild. I think they're going to have a good season, too.
No, Mondovi went on that streak last year where they didn't give up any points for, gosh, I don't even remember how many games it was, but it was a lot of games. And because of that, they said that they have a lot of fans now going to the football games. So did you notice that there?
It was a good crowd. So obviously it was my first game covered, and the student section was really big, and there was a good amount of fans, parents from each side. So it kind of felt like a normal football game, to be honest with you. Obviously, there would be more fans if it was a regular Friday night in non-pandemic times. But I was impressed with the crowd tonight, and good energy. The students were loud, and Osseo Fairchild fans were getting loud there in the second quarter when they had some points going their way. So yeah, I thought it was a really good environment tonight.
And I know we weren't really sure if there was going to be a student section, what was going on with that, but at least the students can go out and support their team at some of these schools. And
that means so much. You've heard the argument of it's beneficial for the kids to play, but I think it also is really beneficial for them to be able to go out to a game and support their friends, their classmates, and be able to cheer from the stands like they're so used to doing. I know you and I would go to different sporting events when we were in high school, and there's something to be said about that too. So I'm glad they're getting that chance.
Just a sense of unity means so much. Oh, for sure. All right, Heart of North, Northwestern, kind of the powerhouse for a while now. I know Spring Valley Northwestern is always the big matchup, but they were taking on Chautauqua.
Yeah, Chautauqua got the first crack at them, and maybe that's bad.
Get them out of the way.
They were fighting. But just Northwestern just too strong tonight, and we'll see if they can go undefeated again. I know they had a really good, strong run last year. Obviously, running game's so important, and Northwestern got off to a great start in that realm tonight. So, and a little bit of trickery there too, it looks like. They got the bag of tricks going, and whenever you get the big fella in the end zone, that's just a great
Look at him go.
moment. And usually the guys are more excited about that when the maybe non-traditional role player, I'm not saying that right, but when the guy that doesn't get the ball all the time gets to find the end zone, that's really fun, and the kids always remember that. So good win for Northwestern on the road. I don't know. We'll see. Like I said about Chippewa Falls, it's only been 1 week. Don't read too much into it. You're going to have another week of practice, and you're going to be able to look at the tape and make improvements. So I think Chautauqua will play much better next week.
Especially taking on just such a great program like that
off
the start. All right, so now some of these scores here is we're going to see a little bit lopsided. We go to Cumberland and Cameron next, and what did you see with this one?
Kind of the same thing. You've got a really good Cumberland team, and Cameron I know had a down year last year. But what I noticed from just my Mondovi game is the play was a little bit sloppy tonight. We had some penalties, we had some turnovers, and so you get a couple of those strung together, and the other team goes down and puts up some points. It doesn't take much for games to get kind of lopsided, and especially in the second half. I don't know how well conditioned everybody is right now. It was pretty warm out there tonight. It was in the 70s.
Yeah.
So if you weren't hydrated, maybe that started to wear on you in the second half. So again, week 1 scores. I'm not going to buy too much into it. I'm not going to take any credit away from Cumberland. But, if you're Cameron, maybe, okay, that was our first game, we can learn from it. So, I'm not going to say that one team is, all-time great and the other team is just, rock bottom. But good win for Cumberland. Anytime you can go on the road and put up that many points, especially on week 1, I think that's great.
I think something else to be said is it's just been such a weird year for everyone. And for these high school students, a lot of them, didn't get, if they were in other sports, didn't get to play in the spring. And all of a sudden they're back. There's so much that goes into it. And I think they just kind of have to get into a little bit of a rhythm.
And I hope we can have a rhythm, because a lot of teams have been saying, okay, we get to play this Friday, but we don't know about next Friday. And I hope we can get into this and finish the season. I hope we don't start and stop. I know a couple games got canceled this afternoon that we were going to see played tonight. So if I could add, a couple other scores that we got in kind of after the show wrapped up. McDonald Central on the road, 46-20 over Alma Center Lincoln tonight. Gilman beat Bruce 53-0. Altoona, so a week ago basically, Altoona, they were practicing. They didn't know they had a game. Yeah. And tonight they are playing. They added Highland to their schedule. They drove 3 hours to Highland to play. Unfortunately, they lost 35-6. Altoona did. But you talk about the uncertainty and no rhythm. Altoona, 8 days ago, you did not know if you were going to play a game or when, and then you get the approval, and then you get a game, and they got to experience Friday Night Lights tonight. So that's the positive, and we'll see. They've got a handful of games, and unfortunately, I think they're going to have to travel quite a bit, though. I don't know how many home games they're going to have. But I wanted to at least share Altoona's score, because maybe not everybody knew that they had picked up that game tonight.
I talked to them last week, and they were not certain, but Coach Hansen was sure. He's like, well, if we play, it'll be in October. October 2nd was the date that he gave. Yep. So, it's just crazy that all of a sudden, just like that.
And I know down in the La Crosse area where I'm from, and we have a sister station, obviously News 19, they had talked about some games being dropped and opponents being picked up. And so it might not be a stretch of the imagination to see a team in La Crosse or another part of the state drop their game. Somebody has to cancel, and then maybe like in Altoona or somebody else is going to pick up the phone and now, if there's an open date, obviously, but
that's passion, right? You drive 3 hours for a football game. You love that game.
But it's it's all for the kids, though. You want to give the kids an opportunity to play, and that's what they're doing. And hopefully we can do it safely, and we can get all these games in. That's what I really want to see, is just let's give the athletes a chance to play. Let's give the coaches a chance to put the headset on, and let's give the parents a chance to sit in the stands and watch their sons and daughters, especially if they're seniors this year. To be able to have a senior year. That's really what we're going for here, and so hopefully it all went well tonight.
Right. And then one more set of highlights that we have for the Dunn St. Croix Boyceville at Colfax. I was at this one. There we go. There are the highlights. A pretty slow start to this one, I would say. As you were saying, it's the opening night, so a lot of penalties to start this one. Some good defense, though, as you can see. Boyceville, they were getting turnovers kind of left and right. We're having a hard time, though, getting anything out of it to begin. But unfortunately, I can only stay until halftime for this one. But they went off in the second half because they ended up winning 34-0. It was 7-0 when I had to leave that one. But yeah, they really picked it up.
Some teams are camera shy.
Right, I know. As soon as they left, they're like, all right, we can play our real game now. But yeah, overall, wow.
Good first night.
Good first night.
Really good first night. Hopefully everybody at home enjoyed it. Hopefully like I said, we get to have a full season and get a couple postseason games in. We don't know what the postseason looks like right now. Probably just going to be 2 levels and I would guess regional play. But hey, at least we're playing for something, and at least we're out here playing.
And the games are gonna stay competitive. I know they are, even if there is no playoffs or anything like that. Like
of course.
These teams want to win.
Yeah.
Well, first night in the books. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rebecca Fiala, Sports Director Nick Tabert, and we will see you guys next week.
Have a good night.